We are ready to start. And again, my apologies, everyone. It took a minute with technology to ensure that the recordings were established. So Catherine, take it away.
Okay, I'll step in for Francisco here and make it a little bit shorter. We provide translations for all of our meetings, and we will do that through language access this evening. And you will see at the bottom of your screen a little globe that says English. If you wish to hear the meeting in English, please push the English button. If you would prefer to hear the meeting in Spanish or interpreted for you, please push the button for Spanish. And Francisco, do you want to give those instructions in Spanish?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's always the National Western Center offers interpretation from English into Spanish and Spanish into English. For those of you who haven't used that feature yet, you're going to see a little globe on the bottom right of your screen. Click on the globe and select the language of your choice. Buenas tardes a todos. Como siempre, el Centro National West, la Autoridad Centro National Western ofrece interpretación al español. Para aquellos de ustedes que no han usado este servicio antes, si pueden seleccionar el globo en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla y escoger el idioma de su preferencia.
Thank you, Francisco. So don't forget, everybody needs to tap one of those buttons just to be sure that you can get the full meeting. So let's start out the way we always do. I'm Catherine Urchuleta. I'm your facilitator for the evening, and just to remind ourselves of how we work together. I know you're very familiar, but it's always good to ground ourselves in these values of respect and trust, openness and transparency, and really encouraging others to share and to inspire one another and be open to new ideas, and because all our voices matter. This past week, I shared a facilitation with another member of one of my colleagues, and she introduced me to a term called wait. And wait meaning what am I trying to say? Remind yourself, what am I trying to say? How can I say it succinctly so that I'm not using a lot of the time that is limited? So the wait. And the other one is, why aren't I trying to say something? For those of you who are sitting quietly on the side and don't feel like you can contribute, please let us know how we can support you in making sure that your voice is also heard. So it's also measuring how much we speak, and also encouraging each other to speak and to voice your voice. The fourth value is understanding we are a community that faces many realities every day. And that partnership of collaboration and cooperation between the National Western Center and its neighbors is very, very important. And we'll try to make sure that as we work as a community, we understand what the realities are, but also understand what the opportunities are to make a difference. So the next slide is the agenda for the meeting, and a really quick icebreaker I'll talk to you about it in a little bit. We're going to also have community updates, happenings in the community, some National Western Center updates that include activities on the campus, as well as the procurement process update from Steve. And then we'll continue our conversations about CAC roles and responsibilities. You received the August 28th, 2016 document, and also the notes from the last meeting. So we'll use both of those in our discussion. So I have a really quick icebreaker for you this evening, and you can use your, at the bottom on that same one where you have interpretation, because most of you are not on camera, and I won't ask you to be if you don't choose to be. But there's a reactions button. If you click on that reactions button, there's a raise hand. So I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand for questions. And just so that we get to see, and I think you can see on the side of your screen about, you can see how many people share the same or similar background as you have in terms of being a Denverite or a Coloradoan. So first of all, the first question is, how many of you are Colorado natives? Raise your hand if you're a Colorado native. And let's just see quickly on this survey.
Catherine, you have 2 in the room.
2 in the room.
2 in the room.
Caroline, Slavisa, AE, and Steve. No hand raising? Okay. How many of you are Denver natives? I'll keep my
Catherine,
hand.
2 in the room.
So there's 3 Denver natives. How many of you have lived in Denver for more than 20 years? Now the hands are going up.
6 in the room.
I love it. And how many of you have lived in Denver for less than 10 years?
1 in the room.
So we're kind of new, but there's some folks have been here for a lifetime, and others who are just new to Denver would love it. And then how many of you have moved away from Denver and then come back? 2 of us.
1 in the room.
2 of us. Okay, so what that shows me is that we're a really mixed group in terms of our understanding of the Denver community. Some with a lot of depth, others with really rich understandings. But we have some new individuals into our community who are learning more and more. And I think that's the important part of these meetings, because we get to share information and we get to really learn new things about Denver if we don't already know them. And I think some of the icebreakers give us a good sense of what that's like. So, okay, that was quick. I told you, thank you for taking part in my survey. And I'm going to turn it over to all of you with community updates and happenings in the community. Any updates from any of our CAC members? Caroline or Ann or AE, any news, Caroline?
I'll go ahead and jump in. This isn't super new, but just a reminder to everyone that the pharmacy at Tepeyac Community Health Center is now up and running. You don't have to be a patient there. You can get your prescriptions sent from anywhere and filled there. Very convenient if you live in the neighborhood, because otherwise you kind of got to go a little bit further out of the neighborhood to get prescriptions filled and all that. So just wanted to remind everyone of this fantastic new service. The pharmacy is also very low cost, very affordable, has loads and loads of different medications. So if you have a medication that's pretty expensive to get at other places, I definitely recommend checking out the Tepeyac Pharmacy.
Well, that's great news. It's not been open for about a month. Is that right, Caroline?
Little bit over a month now. I would say about a month and a half, almost 2 months now. So it's been a really off to a great start. Had a lot of people getting their prescriptions filled right away. So even though it's new, it's definitely not in the newish stage where nothing is, going right or anything like that. No, it started running, hit the ground running, and has been going great so far.
It's a great asset in the community.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Any other updates from the community?
Catherine, this is Sarah with CSU Spur, and I have a couple updates. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to announce second Saturday, which was this weekend, was our highest attended second Saturday. We saw around 600 people, and we had around 20 activities throughout the 3 buildings. So that was really fun. This next second Saturday in December is all health themed, healthy holiday themed. So we'll have crafts, we'll have lots of information, cooking information and educational information around beans. There's a big group of people who are really excited about beans at CSU, and they're looking forward to sharing that information. I hope we'll have some other fun, like free lectures and things like that. So you can keep up with the updates on second Saturday on our website. But lots of free offerings. In addition, we're doing a yoga class before second Saturday, and that's from 8:30 to 9:30 in the Hydro Theater. It will be a bilingual yoga session, and it's free, so you can register for that. Also, that's on our website and our calendar. And we are launching some free community cooking classes. So the first one of that will be on December 12th. That's a Tuesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. And this is in partnership with History Colorado. So I know we mentioned that we'd like to see more partnership and programming from History Colorado and Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And I just want to say we're working on it. So History Colorado is helping to lead cooking workshops. This first one is all about low waste and reducing waste in the kitchen and sustainability. And so they'll tie in some historical aspects of that. Again, that class is free, and you can sign up for that also on our website on our calendar. And see the upcoming one, the next one is in February. So I'll also send out a community update email next week, and I have everyone's email address, so you'll get all these details in writing. The third item that I have is we also have a program called Osher Lifelong Learning Institute that will be housed at Spur. It's essentially like our college for adults over 50, but it's learning for the sake of fun. So we have instructors that teach like college style classes, but you don't get credit, you just get to learn for the sake of learning. And the topics are everything from learning more about Ukraine to a watercolors class. So all of those classes begin in the spring. Registration to join the Osher Lifelong Learning program has been waived this year. So that is free. Some of the classes do have a fee, and that could be anywhere from like $10 to $300 if it's more supply intensive. But we do have scholarships, and so you can just request assistance if the cost of the class is a barrier for community members. So the registration for those classes begins in January, and again, I'll send you an email so you all know, but just wanted to let you know that programming for adults over 50 is also coming this Spur. I know we've done a lot with youth, and we're really excited to have some of these social lifelong learning classes. And then I have a really hard update to share, actually, and I am spreading my wings, and I worked for the CSU system for 11 years and 6 years on this project, and kind of stumbled into a new opportunity. So I'm going to be working with businesses in Arvada and connecting them to business support and doing economic development there. So I'm very, very sad to be leaving CSU at the end of the month. But I just wanted to say I remain so in love with working with all of you and with these communities and with this project. And so I'll also be sharing my personal information if anyone wants to reach out. I wish you all just the best, and I know we can continue to do great things together in this community. So that is my update.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's still emotional for me, obviously. Change is hard, but good opportunity to grow and learn new skills. So I hope I find my way back.
Well, I just want to say that I keep hearing that you guys are doing amazing work, and I know now, I was gonna say, great work, keep up, right? But I think totally understand that great talent
Thank you.
gets snatched, so we wish you the best, but and thank you. We have the community, I keep hearing that, oh, it's great, I took a class, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that class. I was like, oh my God. It's really good.
Thank you. And we are committed also to smooth transition. So you'll probably be seeing Jocelyn back here in more of these meetings. And then we hope tomorrow we get to announce a new community engagement and outreach coordinator. So we do have a full-time person who is really prioritizing community engagement and outreach in this area. And they are bilingual and will bring a great wealth of knowledge and connections too. So I wish I could tell you who.
Thank you, Sarah. We'll miss you.
And Catherine, I don't know if you saw, Angela has her hand up.
Yes, I see Angela, your hand is up.
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, Sarah, I want to thank you so much for everything that you have done in the short amount of time that you've been in the community. I know you have been determined to be able to help the community and work with us, and I deeply, deeply appreciate everything that you've done. And I wish you so much joy and luck and happiness in your new job. And what I want to ask is, has CSU looked at possibly having some kind of shuttle for GES residents to get to CSU, especially on the weekends, on the second Saturdays, because there are things happening and a lot of us can't go because we don't have access to be able to get there. We don't drive, and it's not a safe place to be able to walk to access. That's one. And the other thing, the class on December 12th sounds excellent. However, I just want to remind people that that is the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And if you're Latino, Latina, and Catholic, that is a big celebration. And I don't know if that will affect the class attendance, but I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for letting me know. And we were working with the connector to see about potentially expanding services. I know that's something that we had wanted and been advocating for. We also were exploring a couple of different options of getting a bus eventually, but I don't have any firm updates there yet. But I know it's a need, and I appreciate you continuing to bring that up and keep it top of mind for everyone.
Note from Caroline for you. Sarah,
Thank you.
Yeah. I wish you saw that. Thank you.
And I have some updates.
Okay, Sandra.
You have updates from the community?
Yeah, Sandra has some.
Thanks, Sandra.
Just FYI, folks, our owls are not communicating because they are requiring me to update the software. So this one is just there. It's not working. That's the only microphone, so you need to speak up for folks online.
Okay, so tomorrow, can you hear me? We're gonna be at, what is the address? 510 East 51st Avenue. We're gonna be doing Thanksgiving baskets giveaway with Denver Police District 1 at 10 a.m. I don't know how they're doing it, so I don't know if it's gonna be just whoever comes, I think.
There's a
So
list submitted on whose names are on the list to get it through.
it's already made and everything, I don't know. I'm just gonna be helping them. Also, we're gonna start cooking classes. And that's with Hispanic Restaurant Association, but it's gonna go through EGS and Partners, and that's gonna start December 12th. We're gonna start doing the Serve and Save certification for the community. And that came because I was telling them that we don't have that much opportunities for people here to get a certification, to do more. And also because the restaurant industry, I don't know everywhere, but here in Denver, we see a lot of cooks, a lot of chefs, but they haven't been certified. So we want to do this program so people can get certified and get better jobs. And that's mostly for Hispanics, Mexicans, in our communities. We need to start educating that if they get certification, they're gonna get paid better. So And that's gonna be just the first class. Next year, we're gonna start.
What's the training on? You said certificado de qué?
Se llama Serve Safe.
Oh, I know. Okay.
And we're gonna be guiding them and everything on that first part. It's gonna be a whole year of classes, so, and that's gonna start next year. But this is the first part that we're gonna begin. Also, the GES health study, Anna, myself, are planning the Posada food basket thing that we have been doing. I think we already have the funding. I don't know who's gonna give the funding. I believe we already have that. But also, if you would like to donate, so we can make some champurrado, hot cocoa for the people that comes and get those food baskets, or if you wanna donate conchas or sweet bread, it's very welcome. So, and that's gonna be December 16, I think 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. ¿Qué más? On Friday, we already have everyone. We are doing the prepare meals for Thanksgiving, and that's we tried to do it at CSU. They chose another address in Commerce City, but it's for GES residents also. I registered 100 families, which is a total of 500 meals that we're gonna be cooking on Friday. It's gonna be all day cooking with volunteers. I'm taking my sister, my kids, everyone to help. Also, we looking for funding for El Dia de los Reyes, which is January 6th. We've been doing this for 4 years already. And we're doing it now because we need to have everything ready for January 6th. The first year we gave about 400 toys. The second year it was less. The third year it was more. So it changes, and hopefully we can get more this year. And that's a tradition that we have in Mexico, and we're trying to promote and keep the culture of Mexico, since we have a big number of people from Mexico. So Dia de los Reyes, like me, I grew up in Mexico until I was 8 years old. That's the only time that we had toys, because there were organizations giving toys away to kids, because we were very poor, not because we wanted, but. So that's a very special day for most Mexican kids. So again, we're asking for donations.
What's it called?
Dia de los Reyes, que es the Day of White. Yeah. Eso. So that's, we are.
Yes, Three Kings Day.
Okay.
And so remember they brought
Puerto Rico, we
frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just you look lost.
No, I'm not.
Awesome.
And also we started program for women. Also, we're working on that, and it's to prepare women in this community to be leaders. It's a very expensive program that also probably we're gonna be looking for funding. Probably we're gonna partner with the city, because we wanna do certifications for these women that can't go to school, that been their whole lives at home, not being able to work. So we're trying to create leaders in the community. Again, all this is focused on Hispanic women, because they're the ones that have less opportunities. And I think that's it.
Where is that gonna take place?
So that is gonna take place here. I'm not sure where, probably CSU. They're still working on that, but it's gonna be here in DS.
And is there gonna be a registration page or something that can be?
We're gonna do everything. As soon as we have everything ready, probably we're gonna do all that starting next year.
Reminder to please speak up. Our Spanish translators can't hear, so just
Okay,
speak up.
sorry.
Thank you.
Perdón. ¿Quieren que lo traduzca en español?
Okay, Catherine, that was it. Sound
Yeah,
good? Okay.
I'm good.
Thanks
Any
for all
other
your
updates?
community. I know we a lot of new people in the room. The owl is not good at letting us see clear faces, so maybe we could go around the table and then we'll go around the Zoom table. And if everybody could just introduce themselves, and if you have a title that you'd like to share, please do that. But I do see some new faces, and we sure would like to know who everyone is. So maybe we'll start at the table with Steve. We'll go around.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Nally. I work for the National Western Center Authority.
Oh, Sandra Ruiz, from Global and National Western Center Board.
Sarah Miley with CSU Spur. Ana Varela, I have a new position name. It's Communications Director with Tierra Colectiva.
Joe Henry.
I'm Tracy Tintola.
I'm Lori Huertas. I'm the Director of Program Impact with Focus Points. I'm also a professor at MSU and DU.
That's it.
Yeah, at least more.
Fernando Pineda with CREA results.
Brad Buchanan with the National Western Center Authority. Brandon Anderson there with We Don't Waste.
Anthony Aragon, the National Western Center.
Angela.
Angela Garcia, global resident and member of the Community Investment Fund.
Caroline.
Hi, Caroline Acha, community resident of Globeville, and I am also the vice chair of the board for Tepeyac Community Health Center.
Slavisma.
Slavica Park with TRL Associates and also attending on behalf of National Western Stock Show.
AE.
AE with Globeville. I'm one of the original NWC CAC members. I'm kind of a vested observer to the process.
Anne.
Hi, everyone. Ann Hayes. I am with Westfield Company. We are a company that is located in Elyria, Swansea, and I was also part of the original CAC group. Thank you.
Chris.
Hi, everyone. Chris Callanian with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure here in Denver.
Mike.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Bouchard. I'm the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of the National Western Center, and we are responsible for building out phases 1 and 2 of the campus.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome, everybody it's the first time you've been here, and welcome to everybody who's been here. And for as AE has said and Anna said, have been the original members of the CAC. So really glad you're here. Let's move on to NWC.
Oh, Catherine, Anna Varela was going to share a couple community updates, I think, before we did introductions.
Oh, just one really quick one. So on December 2nd, the Tierras Verdes branch of the Tierra Colectiva group, so that's the open green spaces branch of the collective land group, is having a fundraiser on December 2nd. And it's going to be, the reason I especially bring this up is because, of course, the ladies, and many of you know the navigators, demanded that the food be extremely accessible. So the fundraising portion, I don't know how we're doing that part, but the food part is enchiladas, platos de enchiladas, tamales, and champurrado, which I am now an addict of. And it's going to be at Greenhouse Connection Center, which is just down the street here at 4700 Claude Court. So on December 2nd, anytime between 12 and 4 p.m., stop by, get to know our navigator program. They are even selling tamales individually at $2 a pop. So just to give you an idea there. So if you're just hungry on Saturday, December 2nd, come on by. We're also planning on doing free plates for people in need. So whether that's our new Venezuelan neighbors or any neighbors that come up and don't have those funds, we plan to have that. So we have some help, we believe, from Nest to do that part. So thank you so much. That was really the only update. We don't usually have something like that that comes up. So I really wanted to share that with everyone in the room. That's it.
Any other?
One more, Catherine, yep, Lori from Focus Points.
I'm Lori, I'm sorry, yes. Just really quick, I'm just really proud of our, one of our programs that does home visitation of Pat and Hippie, kids 0 to 5. We have our first certified doula at Focus Points, and we'll be advertising that pretty soon. She was certified through Elephant Circle. We also have our first Zumbini instructor who already did a community event on site. So we'll be advertising that more. Zumbini is Zumba for babies, with research proved that music helps for them to improve mathematical skills. And most of our families are Spanish speaking primarily, so we do it bilingual. And then the last thing is kind of similar to what Anna was saying, with so many refugees coming from Venezuela. Many of them reside in Aurora. So Focus Points is now opening up a site at the Mango House, which is where many refugees go in Aurora. I know that's not GES. However, if you encounter someone from Venezuela that lives in Aurora, it's going to be free beginning English classes at the Mango House. And I'll invite all of you. We're going to have a grand opening. That'll be in January.
That's great news, Lori. Thank you. Any other announcements from the community? Okay, let's move to the National Western. Turn over to Brad and Anthony.
The owls are back.
The owls are back.
Oh, wow, Sunday in the front row.
Great. Just in time.
I can see really well now.
We have a big agenda, so just a couple of updates. So over the past number of months, we've heard a number of times some themes from this group and community members. One was that they don't, community does not feel invited or welcome in many ways at the stock show. And so the authority is proposing a couple of options to help with that. One, we got with the stock show. There was also an idea, I think it might have come originally from the Community Benefits Committee meeting, but maybe it was talked about here too, around a community representation in the stock show parade. You know, when they do this stock show parade downtown. We committed to looking in to see if we could track down a horse-drawn wagon that we could find that was big enough for like folks to ride on. We found one, we have it reserved. It'll hold 20 or 25 folks, we think. And Anthony's been working with some local schools about maybe having some school kids ride on it. So, but totally open to what that looks like and what it becomes. And then next, because we know folks, we will always do the stock show always does their free community day. I think it's the first Tuesday. But that doesn't get you into the events. So we are working with some of our funds and trying to bug some other folks about making contributions, and we're most of the way there. We're going to purchase at a reduced rate through the stock show. They decided they've given us a reduced rate. We're gonna purchase 50 tickets to 5 events. 250 tickets at the stock show, and I think there's 3 rodeos, and there's a horse event and a dog event. Am I saying this right?
You certainly are.
So, cool. I mean, the cool events, and so we'll have 250 tickets for community for that. So more to know about that. We'll have more information for you at the December CAC meeting, which I think we need to. Have we set the date?
It's December 27th, but if we're going to move it, we should discuss that
Yeah,
tonight.
so we'll need to tonight talk about, we probably don't want it between Christmas and New Year's. Then the last thing, the theme we heard, I think through the transition committee and the community forum, we've heard it here plenty of times around sidewalks and in GES, and I think our answer has been, we don't do sidewalks. And that's a true statement. We don't do sidewalks. However, we interface with people who do sidewalks all the time. So we've been at work trying to push this topic. It isn't gonna, we're gonna solve everything, but we want to help is in our role to, help champion, be an advocate for community. This is one way we think could help. And to that end, we reached out, had some conversations with Dottie, we've had some conversations with what's it called, Ken, the Northeast Transportation
NETC.
NETC. And so we're trying to get them here in December, possibly, if not December, January, to present to this group, because they do have some things working and they have some things happening that we think while aren't gonna get everything done all at one time. It sounds like, and I want this group to tell us whether it is in fact legitimate progress, but it sounds like there could be some progress. So just wanted to report that back to everybody that we're pushing and advocating where we can with the relationships we have. Obviously, that have been created through the work on this campus that we do with city folks who do sidewalks. Those are my topics for me right now.
Very cool. Anthony, do you want to give any of the details on the events and food vouchers?
Yeah, I think Brad covered it pretty well. So there are going to be 5 community events. We're in the process right now of creating a flyer, and we are going to be working with Freya Results to canvass the entire the 3 neighborhoods of Global, Elyria, Esponcia. So that will be occurring in early December. We want to make sure that we reach every household. Each household will be invited to sign up for up to 4 tickets per household at any of those 155 events, and it'll be first come, first serve. I think we're going to do that before we, post it on social media. We want to give the neighbors, the residents, a chance first and foremost to receive the flyer that first week of December, but then we will begin leaving flyers at the rec centers and at the library and at Prodigy Coffee, and then social media outlets as well. So more information as we move forward, but I imagine that we should be signed up for all 250 tickets before our CAC meeting in December.
Anthony, you mentioned the food vouchers too.
I'm sorry, so it's a ticket to a ticketed event. Some of them are rodeo, but shows, and we'll also include a $20 voucher, food voucher for each individual who attends the rodeo that night as well.
Okay. Anyway, looking forward to that. I think it's one of them is the Dancing Horses event, right?
Yes, Dancing Horses, Extreme Dogs, the Martin Luther King African American Heritage Rodeo, a pro rodeo, and then the Mexican rodeo as well.
Nice. Okay. Anything else there? Steve, do you want to update us on the procurement process?
Absolutely. So we are well underway on the equestrian center, parking garage, and hotel project. The RFP has been issued, it is out on the streets. I believe we sent it around to CAC members, or the distribution list that I think we have for this group. We've been holding one-on-one meetings per the schedule, and these one-on-one meetings are intended to be clarifications for the teams that are potentially going to propose on this project. We have a lot of interest. The teams are substantial, big players that are interested in this project. We're really pleased with the teams that are starting to form at this stage. So that is on its way. It's on schedule, and that's going well. The other procurement that we are working on, we're writing the RFP right now, is for the central utility plant north, the north project. It's the parking garage. That is basically between this building and the central utility plant, the land between these 2 structures. We need parking on the campus, and that is a potential resource for us. So at the last meeting, we discussed bringing some some of the language in the RP to this group to discuss, to kind of toss it around, do some wordsmithing, consider the language, and how it represents, specifically the community language. Our attorneys are not gonna be happy about this. However, we think that this section of the RFP is a description of the GES neighborhoods, and there are no specific requirements in there. It's just a representation of how we're describing Global Elyria Swansea neighborhoods. So I can send this language around to folks and we can set a deadline and ask for your comments, or I can pull it up right now and we can wordsmith by committee. We can read it now and discuss it. I want to kind of open up that process to you all and see what works best. I want to make sure that you're involved in writing and describing yourselves and how you're represented in this request for proposal that's coming up. Your choice. What do you all think?
This is for the cup.
The Cup North RP and the description of GES neighborhoods. Yeah. Should I just pull it up anyways? Okay, I pulled it out of the RP. You're not going to see the rest of the RP because there.
Oh, that's why I wanted to ask why it was alert, and then it's because this is.
Yeah, this is pre-release, and we have a competitive process. We can't share requirements in an RP because someone might be watching and they get an advantage and all that. But this is just a description of the GES neighborhoods. Sorry, it's a little.
If you're the host and you're, sorry, real quick, technology question. If you're the host or you're sharing your screen and I need to send you a document, I can't because it's all gonna appear on the screen right now, I think.
No, it won't. I'm only sharing this Word doc, so.
Okay, no.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, it won't, okay.
Okay, so in the document, we describe key stakeholders. We describe ourselves, we describe Colorado State University, the Western Stock Show Association, the city is the key stakeholders of the framework agreement. This is where that language will live, describing the GES neighborhoods. This is slightly different than what was written in the equestrian. I took some feedback from our last meeting and made a couple of tweaks. Shall I read it to you? Okay. The National Western Center campus nests within the Elyria neighborhood. Swansea is to the east of the National Western Center, beyond Elyria and east of York Street. Globeville is located across the South Platte River to the west of the National Western Center. Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea neighborhoods GES community members have been involved since the inception of the National Western Center campus through the Citizens Advisory Committee, CAC. The CAC is a group of community members from the GES neighborhoods that serves to provide input to the authority and the city regarding projects and initiatives related to the development of the National Western Center campus. The CAC assists in communicating elements of the project to the members of the GES neighborhoods and advises both the authority and the city regarding the needs and desires of the GES neighborhoods in relation to the National Western Center campus. I then go on and describe kind of the process, the work that we've done to date to get input into the RFP, and these are the meetings that we held. I described that core to our mission or its mission, the authority makes significant efforts to include and expand community voices in the planning process for the National Western Center campus. We both respond to community needs and help community members to succeed in anticipation of this RFP and other National Western Center campus initiatives, which would have been the Question Center project. The authority led a multifaceted effort to convene the GES neighborhoods and solicit ideas for the project. The project is the Cup North Parking Garage project that will generate benefits for the community. This outreach included, you guys have seen this list before. All of the ideas generated from this outreach are provided in the exhibit. So I don't have the exhibit number, but the full list of all ideas shows up there at the end of the document. The ideas, priorities identified by community members are incorporated throughout this document, specifically in, and this is the part I left out. This is how those ideas are kind of sprinkled throughout in the sections that they're identified in. And these are the ideas that we've discussed. This is around free and reduced parking. This is around design, around contributions, revenue sources for the community investment fund itself. Is there a portion of parking revenue is there additional development opportunity around this parking garage, and how could that space be used by the community or controlled by the community? Those are the key topics that you'll find sprinkled throughout. And then we're saying that all community outreach efforts for this project will continue to be led by the authority in collaboration with the vertical development partner. We are procuring a vertical development partner as part of this effort. So that is the description of GES, and I want to open it up to you all. And if there's something you don't like, or if you guys are saying this is great, go forward. I want to give you guys time to think about it, and also open to send it out to you for your comments. So let me know how you want to proceed.
If somebody has a comment or a suggestion, could you raise your hand on, I can't see the room, Anthony. So you'll have to help me.
Yep, no one in the room has raised their hand yet.
Anybody in the room, Zoom room? Angela? Oh, I thought it was Angela. It's AE.
Well, Angela and I are very similar physically, so I can understand the confusion. Hi, Angela. I just have a question here. I was driving, so I may have missed something. What's the timeline on this? Is this the only evening for only opportunity for feedback on it?
So as far as this language here, the feedback on this language, or the total
This language.
process?
This language and both. Now that but I was predominantly asking about this.
Yeah, this language we would like to have buttoned up in like a week. We can do 2 weeks if necessary. It's just a couple paragraphs.
Okay, if anybody feels pressured, they can get back to you, right, Steve?
That's right.
Okay. I just want to ask the sentence, the CAC. I wish it could be the National Western Center -CAC or something. To CAC becomes a generic term, but I understand that there's some resistance to that, but I'm just going to mention it. The CAC is a group of community members from the GES neighborhoods that serves to provide. Does that go far enough? When you say community members from the GES neighborhoods, there are small business owners, there are people that are residents, there are people that are part of the partnerships in the original configuration of showing the collaboration between the various elements. I think it was a little bit had a little bit more depth. So that's just a consideration.
Okay. I
AE.
totally open.
No. Okay. Feedback up to in the next week or so to Steve, if you have any suggestions to the language.
Yep, we will send it out, and I'll set a deadline, and if I don't hear from you, I'll assume you're okay with it.
So that was my question, like if we wanted to reread it and provide feedback, you're gonna send an email?
There will be an email from Anthony.
Okay.
Sound good? All right.
All
right. That's my update.
Thank you. Mike, I know you wanted to make an announcement.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. I just wanted to extend an invitation to this group for a hard hat tour of the Livestock Center construction site. It's pretty fantastic to see what is one of the largest buildings that the city has built in decades going up. I'm sure if you've driven around, you've seen it, but if you want a behind the fence tour, we can provide PPE, which is personal protective equipment for everyone. We would love to host the CAC for a tour of the site if there's interest. So I can work with Catherine and Anthony to figure out timing and gauge interest, but just want to put the invitation out there. We'd love to be able to show off the great work that's going on the site right now.
Thanks, Mike.
It is
Okay.
amazing to see, by the way. You need to get in there. It's very cool. It is very, very cool.
Okay, So the next part of our agenda is to go back to our discussions of last month on the roles and responsibilities of the CAC. And for those of you, just a quick update or introduction for those of you who were not at that meeting. In August of 2016, the guidelines and criteria or the roles and responsibilities of the CAC were outlined. Obviously, it's a dated document, and we're spending time now to go over the document paragraph by paragraph, to update it, to find out what may be missing, what's no longer relevant, and what we could do to improve the document. And at our last meeting, we went through about half of it. And I have some very simple notes. Obviously didn't capture the whole conversation. If you'd like the whole conversation described for you, you can go to the website and listen to the tape where the discussion is fully shared with you. But I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to share with you some of the notes that we took. And let's see, can you see it?
Yes, you may need to enlarge it, Catherine.
I will do that. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, again, these are not verbatim notes, it's just capturing some of the ideas. So the document itself really focused in its first paragraph on the history and purpose. I'm going to move this over so I can actually see it. Hang on just a minute. Okay. Can you still see my screen? Yep.
Yes.
So there was, similar to the language that was proposed for the RFP, we're suggesting a better wording of that paragraph that would include reflection on the evolution of the CAC to the CAC plus, and then change the wording in the paragraph, as you can see there, to update the advisory role of the CAC. The second section on the duties had a little bit more discussion. There's no longer the need for or the existence of an executive oversight committee, so that would come out. It was suggested that that language change go in the first bullet to create this language that you can read for yourselves. I won't read it for you. It provides advice and input. And then similarly, there was a bullet, on the third bullet, there was advising the authority board regarding the needs and desires of the GES neighborhood. And this is really an important part, because when we go back to the membership piece of it, sort of what is membership require, part of the things I think that were discussed down in the next section really talks about getting sort of spreading the information around the community, that might be a role that members could engage in. And then on the
Catherine, sorry, can you zoom in just a teensy bit more here?
Yeah.
On that page.
Careful. I can get my mouse to do it. There?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that
a little more? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then the sixth bullet, which is the bullet that talks about working to ensure that the National Western build out meaningful benefits to the adjacent communities in the short and long terms. It was suggested that to ensure that the build out and programming meaningfully benefits the adjacent benefits the adjacent communities. It's not commitment, communities in the short and long term. So this is a misspelling here, but that's communities in the short and long terms. So we added, that was suggested that this language be added. Is there any further discussion that you would like to have? Are these seem reasonable to you? Obviously, we'll put it in a document and you have another chance to take a look at it, but any concern about adjusting the language under duties to include this suggested language? I'm not seeing any, so I'll just keep going. But shout out at me if you do. Then we went into the membership, and the membership, really, if you, for those of you who were part of this, Anne and AE are eloquent about sort of how that all came to be. Slavica as well. That the original members were the partners that included the Western Stock Show, City and County of Denver, Colorado State University, the Museum of Nature and Science History of Colorado, as well as community groups and business leaders. There was also a line in the language that called out as statewide partners with an interest in the area. So there was discussion around that. And this is basically, we asked more questions than came up with suggestions, but you can see here that since that time, since 2016, there has been the addition of 2 authority community board members. So Sandra and Caroline are now board members, and there's a question as whether there should be a distinction made for them within the membership. And then there was a broader question, should it just be an open membership? That it could be a resident business person, a representative from organizations serving the GES and other neighborhoods impacted by the master plan. Then we began to ask questions about, in the original document, it required a requirement to attend 2 meetings and write a letter of intent to the community, to the committee facilitators. And that seemed a little different than what people were imagining. And they said, should there just be sort of open membership? Anyone who wants to be a member can be a member. And then that sort of followed by the next bullet in the document that talked about meeting attendance. And the question was, should there be attendance requirements? If so, what should they be? And does there need to be a commitment that's demonstrated? And this really came out of sort of the unexcused absences language that existed in the original document. Here you can see the suggestion about the statewide partners. This, again, people raise the question, should it be only residents, community groups, and business leaders located in GES? Excuse me. And then this question that I raised, just the issue was raised about, as I mentioned earlier, should communication among community members occur? How should that communication occur? And so those were we got all the way up through this membership section. These were the questions that are raised. I'm just wondering if there's any thought about how we might address those. Maybe I'll go one by one. I'm just wondering if there's any discussion as to whether there should be a call out for the 2 community board members as without specific names, but that board members have a special distinction within the membership definition. Any thoughts about that, or are you comfortable with that suggestion? Anybody disagree with it, or is there better language that you would choose?
Catherine Ann raised her hand. Ann Hayes raised her hand.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that at the last meeting, there seemed to be some confusion around the authority board members and the rest of the CAC and potential voting, etc. And I will just, share with you my thought on how this should be seen. The 2 authority board members who go to the authority board to vote, they're the ones, in my opinion, who have, they have the right to the vote is an actual vote for passing or not passing certain initiatives or whatever it is the authority board does. At the CAC level, I think that we sometimes used to take a vote just to show where the consensus was, if there was a consensus over an issue, or if an opposition to an issue or something. But it was a way for the CAC to communicate to the authority board members who were typically in the room, this is what we would like to see. So when they go to the authority board to vote on anything, they have a good idea of how the CAC views some of those issues and can, of course, they can vote however they want to, but, to be informed on how the CAC feels about things. So that's kind of how I have always seen, there is a difference between the two. When the CAC votes, it doesn't necessarily impact the authority board decision making. When the two authority board members who, come up from the community, their vote counts on the authority board. So that might be clear as mud, but that's kind of how I'm thinking it. I don't know how to put that into words.
Any other comments about that particular one and the role of the community board members? Okay. So in some ways, and may I clarify, would that mean that we would say that the two community board members are members of the CAC, but that perhaps their role, or maybe we write language that confirms that they're taking back to the full board a sense of the community, that is a role for them within the.
Yes. I mean, I think they definitely should be on the CAC because the expectation is that they attend those meetings.
Okay.
I mean, in addition to other involvement in the community, obviously, but that they attend the CAC meetings. They're not obligated, in my view. Maybe we can say something, but I don't think they're obligated to take those views back because they're appointed as individuals. But the assumption is that they try to get a feel for what the community wants, and that's who they're representing.
Yeah. Yeah. Is everyone generally comfortable with that? Is that, again, this isn't a firm vote on it. I'm just wondering if you're feeling comfortable with that sort of approach. AE?
Ann, I'm not 100% sure I understand what your distinction is. But let me just throw in that this document that we're discussing, the underlying challenge is, are we approaching the definition of membership in the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee, or the CAC, whatever the iteration is, which would determine how a legitimate consensus or vote came from the CAC that would then be carried along with all kinds of neighborhood input or all types of input that the authority board members might receive from various places to the authority board. So I'm not sure. So that should be a distinction made for them within the membership. I guess the membership of the CAC is what that means. My feeling is that because of the way the framework agreement defines what those two representatives are, it can be assumed they are constituents of the neighborhoods, the GS neighborhoods, unless that's changed in the framework agreement. So my feeling is they ought to have a vote as a peership as individuals on the CAC itself. However, their obligation as a board member, just by definition of what being a board member is in general, especially for a service-based 501c3s, they would have to take with equal consideration everything that anyone from the neighborhoods wants them to take to the authority board. But if the CAC takes a vote or makes a clear consensus or wants to issue a comprehensive discussion of record to the authority board from the CAC meetings where there might be differing opinions, then the two board members, would be sure that got heard. So anyway, I'm not sure how all that fits, but I'm concerned about, I'm concerned about losing some of the substance of what the CAC is by not taking care of what it is before we talk about the individual things. Some of the summary you gave, Catherine, I can't endorse a couple of the things that you said, but that can be about the interpretation of last meeting's discussion. But I think we have time for those to be itemized in writing or for people to review the tapes and that kind of a thing. I just want to be clear. I think the discussion took on a different set of considerations than a couple of those points, but it's a difficult discussion to have on a brief meeting. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Thanks, AE. Thanks for doing that. Anne, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with AE on a point that she made that I did not make, which was that when the authority board members are at the CAC, that is a peer-to-peer discussion. There's no ranking of those individuals on the CAC, just that they would take whatever the result of the conversation is back to the authority board if that is what the situation is. But when they are sitting with the other CAC members in discussion over issues or ideas, that they're all peers.
Okay. So the note that I have is that they have a vote within the CAC. They serve as a peer-to-peer within the CAC structure, but that they also are responsible for conveying the sense of the community to the NWCA board. Okay, let's go on to the open membership. Should there be an open membership? Anyone who wants to be a member can be a member. Is there any particular feelings that anyone has about that issue? Is it open, remains open all the time? Was there better ways to say that you would suggest or you think would be important? Anne?
Well, I do think there needs to be some limitations on quote unquote membership. And, I think we need to think about this a little bit more deeply as to whether we really consider to be members. Because I think what's more important is whoever decides to become involved with the CAC, that they have some continuity with the group, that they don't just show up for one meeting and create, fuss over one particular issue and then leave, that they need to have a track record of attending so that they have the background and the context to participate. So I don't know how we structure that, but perhaps it's anyone can be a member, but the assumption is maybe you have them sign a piece of paper that they will, attend most meetings or always check in for excused absences, and that if they don't do that, then they wouldn't be considered a member in that context. That we did that to some degree when the CAC first started, is that there were attendance requirements for the same reason. In order to be able to be a productive participant in discussion, you have to have history and context. So
in the original document, it said that candidates who expressed interest in joining the committee will be required to attend 2 meetings and write a letter of intent to the committee facilitators. The letter should outline why the potential member is interested in joining the committee and what skills and interests they bring to the group. This letter would be distributed to the members of the committee for the review. So I think in there, it assumes that there is a core group, and adding to it is through an expression submitted by a potential member. And then it also suggests that 2 meetings before writing a letter of intent to the facilitators. AE, I see your hand up.
I just want to endorse what Ann said, especially the intent being continuity. The reason, and there was a great deal of discussion about this, it's very important to not conflate the fact that all CAC, the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee, and this iteration of the effort are always open to everyone. These are not closed meetings. Anyone on planet Earth and beyond can come to these meetings. It's always been the case. Whether or not there have been obstacles for engagement and difficulties around the process is a legitimate question that remains. However, we need to not conflate that as being not needing thinking that a definition of membership is exclusionary. It's a focus, not an exclusionary element. That's the function of democratically involved urban and civic stuff. Although this is not, fully representational, unless every single member of the neighborhoods, for example, votes on an issue. But the point I'm making is those requirements for 2 meetings and for a letter expressing a mutually beneficial reason were for the protection of the person wanting to get on to the CAC as much as it was for the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee to keep some depth. This was never a fulfilled set of criteria, and I would not call this an outline. Catherine, you referred to that document as an outline. It is a statement of policy approved by the legitimate body of members at that time. So I don't want to lose that depth in it. But anyway, so I would say defining a membership has to do with creating a focus and assuring an inclusivity. It's not an exclusivity, and the meetings are always open. To my knowledge, there's never been with the CAC any meeting or any event or any subcommittee of the CAC itself that has been exclusionary. When the Executive Oversight Committee and there was a fight. There's a couple sort of formative board level meetings that were somewhat exclusionary that at the time prior to and during the formation of the authority board, and there was issues to discuss there. But anyway, so I feel like the 2 meetings are a way of people really getting to know what they're getting into, and getting clear, attending 2 meetings just to kind of know the process, and that may or may not be the best number, and they may or may not need to be, adjacent meetings or whatever you call that, one after that. Maybe there can be a distance in between them. So there's things that could be discussed, but it's more to focus the engagement mutually.
So and AE and other people in the room. So if there's 2 meetings, to come to 2 meetings, show an interest in the CAC, perhaps they write a letter. Is that what you're suggesting? And where does that letter go? And other people in the room, remember that wait comment I made earlier is, why am I not talking? And sort of, we're hopeful that we get as much input as possible. And Anne and AE have the historical background, but I also think they would love to hear back from, we'd all love to hear from other people in the room as well.
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
I can, Joe.
So what's the problem? I guess I'm not following.
I'm sorry.
That's a good question. So what's the problem we're trying to solve? I'm not following this.
No, it's not a problem. I think we're just trying to get definition within the document. So if there is an open membership, which it seems like it's an open membership, and any meeting is absolutely open. So that's confirmed, or it's not confirmed, but at least suggested. The issue is, if you want to be a voting member of the CAC, not just someone who occasionally drops in, is there some expression of that interest that comes back to the full CAC? Or all the people that come on a regular basis, like yourselves, that are here every month and talking about the issues? I think it responds to some of the concerns that Anne raised in terms of people who may come once and then not come for a while, and we have to then review everything that was done while they were gone. So it's sort of maybe a process issue, but it may be something different.
But do you have to review everything when they were there? Is that a requirement? If you miss a meeting, it would help. This is what you missed, we'll update you on what you missed.
We don't have to.
Okay.
Angela,
just not
your hand
following
raised.
the problem.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
So if you feel strong, just have somebody sign a letter. I'll come to at least, maybe how many meetings are there here? 12? 2 seems light.
Well, there's two, or you could be a member.
Oh, okay.
Different topic. That was sort of like how to become a member.
Oh, gotcha.
How to stay a member.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Angela, then AE, then Ann.
Oh, all the A's get to speak next. That's right on. So I agree with AE. I always thought it was just open membership because I remember 6 or 7 years ago, I don't remember if it was AE or the GES coalition said these meetings were happening. And I said, okay, I'll go. And here I am 6 or 7 years later. And I think, and I agree with Anne, like, one person shouldn't come in and throw a wrench that hits all of us in the head and then walks away. I think that there should at least be a commitment for somebody to attend, at least 4 consecutive meetings so that we know that there is indeed a commitment that they are going to be involved. And, we all have things come up where we can't come. We have family emergencies, we're ill, etc. So those things need to be, of course, taken into consideration. But I think to at least attend 4 consecutive meetings, and then there's 12 meetings in a year, to at least attend 8 of those meetings, so that we know that there truly is a commitment to this group of people, to the community of GES. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. AE?
Yes, it's a matter of the volume and the complexity of of what was coming in for people on the NWC CAC to consider required the continuity of immersion. And I think that the whole issue of I think that there are standing issues in this iteration of the CAC, how it's, what standards of briefing and bringing details and that sort of thing to the CAC, what the standards are. So it's not with any of the engagement things that are going on in just Denver, but probably any arena. There is part of the commitment is doing whatever a person can muster to be briefed on what the data is, the issues, the documents, the potentials, and it sparks creativity when that's there. So this is bringing forward, and I just consider myself part of the continuum, and it's not part of the historical because it's all relevant in the present, but it's bringing forward a standard in this document of, yes, part of what the magnitude of the job people are taking on when they come on to something like what the NWC CAC could be at its most substantial is there's going to be extra time, the same way, to study what's going on, which is sometimes an obstacle, but certainly deserves support and good briefings. And that's largely what's behind this. So I think that it's not, maybe it should be 2, maybe it should be 4. But again, the continuity in the briefings and that kind of a thing, when we did this framework agreement, it was really critical. And it took hours and hours for people on the CAC to read that document when it came in. That's, for example. So there's going to be things like that. There are things now that have gone by in the river that we've missed, that where it hasn't, and they can be brought back. But at any rate, I think there is an implied commitment to some, to really study what's going on, and for the briefings and the ways that the information is brought to be enhanced, both to the CAC and to the authority board and all points in between. There's a lot of work to be done in that area, and this can ground it.
And thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say a couple things. First of all, at the very beginning of the CAC, it was a closed membership, and you did have to apply and be accepted by the rest of the group. You couldn't just attend and be a member of the CAC. It was a public meeting. Anyone could attend as a member of the public, but the CAC members were the ones who were sitting around the table doing the discussing. I think there probably was time for public comment before or after, but it was not just a free-for-all. But that was early on, and obviously things have evolved, and now we want as many members, and we want open membership. I believe we want as many community members involved in this as possible. So to that extent, I think that attendance is probably a good thing to require people who want to become members. But I don't see the purpose for writing a letter and saying, you know, oh, I want to be a member. Will you let me be a member? I think that was for that was for the way it used to be. But for going forward, I think perhaps what we could do is perhaps create a document that if they approach the National Western Authority and say, we want to participate on the CAC, maybe they sign some sort of document says that they agree to attend so many meetings and want to be an active participant in the process of decision making, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a letter is over the top at this point in time. But I do think some sort of document that you ask them to sign to participate would be a good thing. That probably has all of this document itself that we're reviewing right now, that they sign something that they agree to abide by these kind of guidelines.
So I will just put these in the notes and we'll move on to the next section, but I'm hearing at least a general consensus, I'm not making a commitment for you, but that there be open membership, language that suggests open membership, and that also there's a commitment to attend meetings. And Angela suggested 4 consecutive meetings, and then perhaps Anne adding in your suggestion, signing a commitment to attend future meetings, at least 8 in a year, following Angela's. I'll put that in the notes, and then at the next meeting, we can begin to again formalize, well, not formalize, but create a draft that you can see as a whole with some of the suggestions that are coming up tonight. So given that, I think we answered the question about is there a need to demonstrate commitment, and that's in attending meetings. And how should the partners be defined, voting or non-voting? And the partners, if you'll remember, originally were the Western Stock Show Association, City and County of Denver, CSU, Museum of Nature and Science and History, Colorado. We know that the Stock Show, City and County of Denver, and CSU attend regularly. I have never had the pleasure of having a Museum of Nature and Science and History of Colorado representative in the meetings that I facilitated, but maybe they were here prior to my joining your group. I'm just wondering, do we want that list to continue, that same list to continue? And do we want them as voting or non-voting members?
I mean, I feel like especially as we shift to more programmatic things too. I know we added that last time. It's important that they be able to attend, but I think we already established it's open membership. I would like to hear from the community about the voting versus not voting.
what would they be voting on specifically? That has me confused. I mean, is this something that happened in the past that, you know, AE and Ann can address, that they specifically had to vote on something? Because I don't, as far as my chemo brain says, I don't remember anybody voting on anything specifically for this, except, and maybe I'm wrong, except maybe for the voting members, which was Caroline. Somebody correct me.
I think that's right, Angela. AE and then Ann.
When you say open membership, membership still has to be defined. And this is what I feel like is being missed here. When you're defining what membership is, you are defining, is it a voting body? Is it a, you know, is it a consensus body? That is a decision. This document that we're looking at did lay the groundwork to reinforce at least consensus on the CAC and the discussions there. And I, you know, some of the things, sometimes the voting was more formal, sometimes it was more consensus. Sometimes there were times when the group felt that it couldn't take a vote. I can give examples for all of these, but in the interest of time, and I hope more people will speak up. But I really feel like we're avoiding the primary, we're avoiding the primary challenge here, which is to define what folks are saying this CAC, sometimes CAC plus group really is. So there are times when and again, I'm going to just stop because I can give examples in all these areas just from the arena. But as far as the partners, I don't think it's, I think that the development of the engagement of all 5 founding partners is an area that needs to be explored. You know, why aren't the 2 founding partners, History Colorado and Denver Museum of Nature and Science, more obviously to the general communities visible as a part of the continuing legacy of this? There's lots of discussion. So I'm hesitant to just say, let's shorten that list. This is the CAC, not the authority board that we're talking about. It is the History Colorado, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, the National Western Center Stock Show Association, the stock show itself, CSU, and the city of Denver are all really critical partners in this. And so I want to be really careful that we don't make this superficial. We can't, you know, we got to, so I feel like we need to really define what membership is. And one last thing, the original committee was formed when there was a broad call across all the neighborhoods to submit an application. At the time, it went through the final approval, I believe, was through the Debbie Ortega's office. I'm not sure who all was involved, and pretty much everybody who applied was then approved onto the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee. And then from there, a process of consensus building and input and all kinds of things developed over time. And then at a certain point, we were losing members. It was, you know, just by natural attrition, and people were coming in and out and in and out. And that's partly where this document came into being, as we discussed, how can we stabilize the understanding of what a membership is so that the communication is clear and the standard is set. So that's just a little bit more background. But this group has to decide what it is, and is it going to have procedures like voting and, you know, consensus and that kind of a thing. Taking a general consensus with just a few neighborhood members here and saying that's what the consensus is not a membership consensus.
So I'm highlighting for your screen just some of the words that were suggested last time in terms of the role and the duties. And then as we moved into membership, really asking many of the questions that have been raised by people in the room or in the meeting. And I think in the document that was handed out, I'm sorry, Anne, I know it's your turn, but I'll just add this in, is that in the original document, residents, community groups, and business leaders located in Globeville, Elyria, and Swansea were considered voting members. The partners and the facilitators were considered non-voting members, and that was a distinction that was in the original document. And I think the question is that relevant today? And if it is, do you want to, or if it isn't, just let us know what that is. And we've heard from A and Anne and others were hopeful. Please weigh in. Anne, go ahead.
Sure. So I prefer, and I know AE had brought up this, how to define who could get involved. I kind of prefer the word stakeholder. And stakeholders can be all community members, people who live in the area, people who in these 3 neighborhoods, people who have businesses within them, but they could also be CSU, and they could be, all of the original partners, but it could also even extend. There could be someone from outside of this specific area who want to get involved with the National Western in some form or fashion. That could also be considered a stakeholder. And so I think all of them should be able to participate as peers on this if they so choose. I really don't like this voting or non-voting concept, because even in the original CAC, it was rare, in my opinion, where we had hard votes and counted them so much. And we did it every once in a while. There were some times we had to do it, but more often we tried to reach consensus. And if there were particular individuals who had objections, and I'm referring a lot to when we were doing work on the master plan and the framework plan, and some of that original work that had to happen before it could even be built. If there were people who had major objections, we tried to work through the objections and find solutions. Just like we're doing here. And so I really hate this concept of voting or non-voting being, a hard and fast case. But, there might be times that we need to do it. But for the majority of time, we just try to have conversations and discussions and work through any issues that people see. So, but I like stakeholders. I think anyone, including, the Museum of Nature and Science, if they so choose to get back involved, or History Denver, we should all be peers on this particular group, in my opinion, to get the most creativity and involvement.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I will try to put this discussion in some very brief notes again. Please use the tapes to get into the detail if you want to review, and my notes don't adequately portray it. I think we talked about absences. It was a suggestion instead of unexcused absences. I think Angela's suggestion was that sort of a minimum number of meetings attended during a year, understanding that not everybody can attend every meeting. The other one that comes up is the size of the membership. It sounds like it's open membership, so everyone is welcome. There is not a stated limitation on the number of people who could be a part of the CAC. Stakeholders and group. Anything else under this membership section that you would like to bring up or change? Anything that's not relevant, things that we've missed that you would like to see in some notes? With the next section I don't see any hands up, so please, if I didn't see you in the room, let me know. In the meetings, we already have a set of values that you worked on 2 years ago. That's just, we could add those in. It's pretty much said in different ways in the document, the 2016 document, with a little bit more specificity. There is a section on there called voting and approval of minutes. And I'm gonna close this document out. And I'm gonna bring up this other document just so that you can see what was included in that. Can you see this document where it says voting and approval of motions?
Yes.
Okay. So the next section, this section above it was just the values and how meetings would be conducted every Thursday. And now I think it's now every Wednesday, but we'll change that. That doesn't have it reflect the work you've already done. Voting and approval of motions. When an action is required on an agenda item or other issue before the committee, the members will vote on the issue. A simple majority of voting members present. Now, Anne has suggested, and we've used the word consensus in other places and other this evening, whether this is voting and approval of motions is something that you want to include, or does this group want to continue why you want to continue to I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. How you want to make your decisions or recommendations based on the purpose of the CAC. Any suggestions here? Do you, when there is a vote that needs to be taken? Again, I think in my experience, the only time that I've seen a vote taken was really around the selection of the board member. And I think it was that was partly consensus as well as a hand raising. AE, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to give one quick example of where a vote was a factor, and it's very key when we put in here when action is required on an agenda item. Okay, action. That's there's several ways to say this, and I don't think we should. Okay, an example: the GS Coalition came to the National Western Center Citizens Advisory Committee to ask for support for the affordable housing project that was going in on 48th and Race to get there to have them meet some demands regarding sensitivities to the neighborhood and to get some tax benefits. Okay, that's a real Reader's Digest version. It was a really significant moment because that was taking a position that would have required a public letter from the NWC CAC. Therefore, the decision was made after some discussion that we could not, as a group, make a decision because there wasn't a level of feeling comfortable that there had been enough time. This was a decision that had to be made within days. There wasn't going to be another meeting. So the agreement was, can you keep that section up there, please, that I'm talking about? Thank you. So the agreement was that we would see if we could, the group agreed, it was as close to a formal vote as you can get, a very strong consensus, that it would be okay, that the support was strong enough for us to develop a letter that individual NWC CAC people could sign onto as CAC members, but that there would not be a formal endorsement from the CAC. I have many memories of moments like that over the many years of where an action could become empowered if there was a vote possible. And that varies. So I'd be careful about saying, Catherine, you haven't witnessed in this short period of time anything that's a vote except for maybe the consensus. Because again, it's not what we've witnessed in a period of time. It's what does this group want to define itself as in terms of walking that thin line between being an advisory group versus a community activator, a consensus builder. There's a lot of depth here we have to consider. So I'm all for consensus, and I'm all for an authority board member having to go to, from a GS authority board member having to go to the authority board saying, hey, there's 3 strong opinions about this on the CAC and 5 more coming from other people in the neighborhoods, and I want you to hear them all. I'm fine with that. But I would say that we need to make some distinctions here about when action is required and et cetera. And there's lots of places where consensus, I'm all for it. So that's just something to think about in defining what this group actually is.
Thank you, Adi. Any other comments on this section on voting and approval of motions? Is this something that is worth keeping in the document in case there is a vote required or needed?
I mean, I only just wonder if a vote is wanted or needed, if it's important to include language about recording who voted what on what in regards to that kind of continuation, and a little bit just referencing what we just talked about, like what is the history of a vote? Why does it matter? So that might be the only thing that's coming to mind here for me.
Okay. Let me, maybe we can come up with some language that would sort of expand that. Understanding, appreciating what AE mentioned in terms of sometimes it is needed. It may be the exception where consensus is usually the rule, but in some points there may be a vote that is needed to be taken. The other ones on communication, agendas, process for feedback. Unless you're all really excited about going through that, I'm thinking the one I would like to jump to is the public comment period, is that all of our meetings are open. They are, do we just want to automatically and convey to are the stakeholders, community residents, businesses, others, that there is a public comment period, and it could be that, it's never used, but it's certainly welcomed. And if I'm just wondering if that sort of language is something you want to keep in the document. Anne?
Yeah, I do think that we should keep that in the document to separate who is a member of this group, who is participating in a discussion, and someone who just shows up for the first time and has some sort of comment that they want to make. That hasn't happened for a really long time, but it used to happen all the time. And what you want to avoid is having someone come, and because if there's no guidelines around how that happens, that they dominate a meeting and just hijack it away from the agenda that had been planned, because there's no guidelines about how long they can participate, how long they can make their comments for. There were times that it was almost a protest at the CAC over certain things. It used to be a whole lot more, colorful that way. But if we didn't have guidelines with the meetings, that it could easily get out of control. I don't see that happening anymore, but I think the guidelines are important to have.
Okay. Does everybody feel comfortable with that? Is there anybody who disagrees with that? Okay.
Catherine, could I ask the group a question?
Yep.
So when this group was meeting at the stock show, the membership thing, and one of the things that happened there that was different than we're doing now, and I want to know if we should still be doing it, was that members or the people who came regularly they had name cards. And they picked them up at the front and they put them in front of them. And folks, members sat at a big horseshoe table. And then guests sat in seats behind that. It's that we aren't doing that now. And my question is, should we?
I think it makes, just from an outsider, just makes it simple to, that you're in, and if you're not, you can get in, you just need to talk to somebody, right? I make reference to churches, right? One churches I'm part of, they say like, hey, if you are a member of the community, you're welcome coming over. And you're not, you're still welcome, just talk to me after, right? So they know that there are checks and balances at any given time, and you don't have to go through the process every meeting, right? So if you don't have there, maybe somebody forgot your name and it's just given to you or made up, or somebody says like, oh, you're a guest, please sit down and happy to have you here. But they know that they're not like, I have something to say. They're like, oh, there's an agenda, there's a process, there's a time for comments. And the people that they already know it, they know the thing, they your tomorrow, you sit down and the meeting starts. So I think one of those things we know, seeing it working very well, because there is a process for everything and it's welcoming. Just you don't have to go over it every day. Yeah.
And that horseshoe, but that then means there is a membership, or there is like that consistent meeting cadence, and then guests, audits, or
Yes.
whatever. Okay. I do like that if there is a structure about who's in versus who's auditing, because I agree with AE that it should be something, especially when I'm talking about, National Western Center campus to partners that aren't familiar. I'm always telling them, hey, catch up immediately at a CAC meeting. But I do agree that if, especially for the in-person dynamic, if there is a difference between membership of a day that's voting, maybe it doesn't always happen, but on voting days, something like that to distinguish the difference so that it isn't confusing for them as well. If there is that distinction of member or not. I'm not exactly clear on whether there is at this point, but I do like that dynamic. I think that'd be great for other meetings I'm into.
So one of the things that I saw when you guys had that structure over there at the stock show, because I was one of the guests, is that it was like 2-3 times that I went to those meetings. I felt like I wasn't part of the meeting, it was only the people that had their names there that were the ones that were gonna participate, that ones that were gonna talk. So I always felt like, because it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people that were sitting there, and the ones that were talking were the ones that were on the horseshoe and always talking and talking. I was like, okay, when should I talk? Should I raise my hand? Is it my turn? Is it not? So if we do that, I think we should be also someone, the facilitator, talking to the guests also that they can participate, that they are part of the meeting too.
And what the process is to become a member.
And what is the process and everything, so that way we don't feel left out. Well, not
Yeah, I like
anymore.
that. It's very simple, it's visible. Yeah. The physical
And
part.
also,
I think
putting
the most
public
important
comment
is-
on the agenda is also an important part.
I can add that.
I think one of the most important things here is the communication that we have. Just listening to the word membership, I feel like we put in a membership. Even if it's gonna be open, we know there's a membership. I mean, I like it being open. If we wanna do it that way, have names of the people that's constantly here and everything, but have that communication, even for the people that comes only once, have that communication, make them feel like they're part of the meeting, even if, and be also very communicative that about the rules and norms and guidelines. I mean, and the times, because sometimes we're very passionate and we like talking about 10 minutes, 15 minutes without seeing that there's other people that wants probably to talk. And sometimes we feel like, there's no time to talk anymore. So just have those guidelines and have that communication with everyone. Make, even the people that comes only once, make them feel welcome, because sometimes, that's why I stopped going to those meetings, because there was always screaming and yelling, and sometimes, and I also didn't feel like I was part of the meeting, because it was always that big table and the names, and I was, okay, so I'm not gonna talk, I guess. So make everyone feel welcome to every meeting, and be respectful of the time and everyone's time and dedication that we're given to these meetings, because it's a dedication that we're given, our time and passion and whatever you want to name it. I think we have to be very respectful of that.
One of the opportunities with this document, if there is a members, if you went the membership route, if there was a membership section, there could be something that we handed out to every new person that came, so that they did feel welcome and invited. And then, handed something so that they understand what the sort of the rules of engagement are, what the culture rules are in terms of how we relate to each other. And we're aware that there is an invitation for them to be involved. I think it could also create a sense of like ownership and belonging for those new members too, as they earn the trust of the group. And the relationship builds within the group.
And make it fun. I mean, make it fun so they can say, oh, yeah, sometimes.
Well, that's what we have such an amazing community representative, to make it fun.
I mean, more fun.
I think AE, we have about 2 minutes left, and we'll do a wrap up real quick.
Okay, so I think everything that Sandra said is important. I also want to emphasize that one of the reasons for identifying the individuals, whether by name tags or whatever arrangements that are there consistently, is so that other members of the neighborhoods in the neighborhoods that cannot come frequently know what their bridge is, because a big part of the obligation of being on the CAC was to go out into the neighborhoods and talk to people. And there's different ways of evaluating how successfully that was done by the original CAC and by individual groups. But this has some formalities, because it is supposed to be having an impact in ways that influence the outcomes and the implementations of this massive project. So I would say that there's lots of things that can be done. Maybe not all of them can be done at the CAC. And there were documents that used to be issued at the door every single meeting, agendas, supporting documents, all kinds of things. This has been a tradition that has not been carried forward. So I think it certainly there needs to be more briefing and structure and getting information out. But anyway, there is an obligation for those that have taken up the responsibility to be visible, even if there's a great big crowd, because it's an open meeting, and have a consistent ongoing effort to loop out and loop back in as many people as possible that can't be there. That's all.
So, thank you, AE. Everyone,
Hey,
thank
Catherine,
you for.
Can I make a comment really quick? So these are all really great ideas. What I can do moving forward is I can print the agenda, I can print the rules of engagement, and any handouts that I email to the CAC in advance, I can have packets prepared. I can also, at the next meeting, have a sign-in sheet. I can add public comment to the agenda. And then something that works really well, I was at a meeting with about 40 environmental groups that were working in the GS community, is we had blank note cards, and then you wrote your name on it. You wrote your name yourself. And that might be a good way that it doesn't feel like it's a printed one. Oh, do I not get to sit at the table? It's like you are welcome to sit at the table, and we still need to determine that. But I think it would feel less separate if, oh, well, you're a guest, you have to sit back there. I mean, I attended those meetings as well at the stock show, and it was, yeah, you're just sitting kind of in the gallery, so to speak, and it didn't mean, but I didn't have a formal role either. I can certainly make those, changes quickly, and easily for the next meeting. So people that come for the first time, like, what the heck are you talking about? At least I have some background. So I can make those changes, effective next meeting.
There was one comment that came through.
Yeah, Catherine, did you read the comment?
Angela, I see it. Angela, I think Angela's raised a really good point. One of the reasons that we're going through these roles and responsibilities is that we wanted to be sure that as we go out into the community, when people say, when we talk about coming to the CAC meetings, or Anthony does, and Brad, is that they say, well, what is the CAC? And I think the work that you've done in the last 2 meetings helps to define that, and you can exactly say what the CAC does, what its membership, what, when does it meet, and there's actually something that can be shared in the community. And the suggestions on roles and responsibility is one that was raised about 4 or 5 months ago in terms of defining that. And then we had the discussions that we needed to have about the procurements. So we wanted to catch up with this discussion so that we can create a document that you all have as ambassadors in the community, or residents in the community who talk about your involvement with the CAC, that you actually have a document you can share that's not dated to 2016, that is new and dated to this year. So that's the purpose of this, going through this. We'll attempt to put all these ideas together for one more draft. I'm wondering if there's anybody who would like to work with us on this. We're certainly welcome. If you don't have to raise your hand now, but if you're interested in taking a look at it before it comes back to the whole group, just let me or Anthony know. And we would certainly.
Are you expecting us to vote on it, or is it going to be a consensus? Just asking.
Catherine, one more quick comment. So this is for the stakeholders that are here. So our December CAC meeting is scheduled on December 27th. And I think that we're not assuming that we want to change it, but it is the week between Christmas and New Year's. I am here. I'm not going anywhere, so I can meet. I don't know about others, so that I'm not being self-serving here that I want to change the date. But if individuals, stakeholders would prefer we move the meeting to December 20th, or even possibly December 13th, we need to probably see if we can determine that while we have everyone here and present now. So thoughts from anyone? Lori?
I'll be here on the 27th,
Okay.
but I'm open if you want to change it.
Tracy?
Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be here in December.
Okay. Joe?
I'm good either way.
Okay. Anna?
Same, all those days work for me, I think.
Sarah, you'll be gone.
I'll be
Sarah,
gone,
Sarah, you'll be
but
gone.
on behalf of CSU, I think the 13th is easier.
Okay,
We're closed.
Angela? Thoughts?
What, Steve?
Whatever the larger group decides, I will go with.
Okay, and right now, believe it or not, we don't have consensus. There are not anyone in the,
Well, Sarah did mention that CSU, you'll be closed on those days, on the 27th.
Yeah, we have like.
okay, so, okay, Caroline.
As it stands, I have a Tepeyac board meeting on the 20th, but at our last board meeting, it was also floated as to whether or not we should move that meeting. So I cannot give you a firm answer yet because that's still up in the air for me.
Okay, Anne?
Are you saying either the 20th or 27th?
I think either the 20th or maybe even I'm hearing the 13th, and the 13th would be a month out, because today is the, whatever day today is, because that's the day it is. Today's the 15th.
I mean, Anthony, I could make either one of those work. I probably would prefer the 20th, but I could make either the 13th or 20th work. It's fine.
Okay, and AE?
I'll stand down on that, follow what happens.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing the 13th or the 20th.
And Anthony, I probably, on the 13th, I will be able to connect online.
Okay, so we're gonna move the meeting to December 13th. Yay, decision was reached. And I will, so a couple of quick follow-ups. So I will work with Steve to prepare an email, to review the community language of the RFP for the Cup North RFP that you discussed. We'll include a deadline, so that you're aware. I will make note that the next meeting will be on December 13th. I'm gonna send that out, as soon as the recordings are uploaded. I will send an email that those have been uploaded to the website for your review. And I believe that's what I have for next steps. Catherine?
Did you say you'll change the?
Thanks,
Oh, and I'll
everybody.
change the Outlook calendar invite as well.
Thank you. That's my goal.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, with whomever you celebrate that with, and we'll see you on the 13th of December.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Angela, yes, to answer your question, yes.
Okay, bye all. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
See, I told you I tried to come. More often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it twice today. so
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's official last day end of month.
December 1st.
Oh, December 1st.